All right, welcome back to another video. I am Reggie, aka FitNoop1911, and I want to welcome you to another haul video. This is not your regular haul video. This is an epic haul video. This week has been incredible, I have to tell you. It started off with going to take a look at a collection. It was a relatively small collection that I wasn't quite sure what was in it. The guy wasn't the biggest communicator, and so I wasn't quite sure what was in the collection. And I would ask questions and I would kind of sort of get answers. But I was getting off work early and was like, hey, you know what? Why not go take a look? The guy sending me messages and he's saying, hey, I'm having some financial difficulties, and so I really need to move the collection. So I kind of felt bad for him. And so I decided to go and check it out. It took me, a little over an hour to get to the place. He meets me out front. I go through the books, and there was a couple of books that I was interested in, but by and large, there wasn't much there for me. And I had to, tell him that this really wasn't a collection that I was in great need of. And he started to try to wheel and deal and offer me some things so that I would give him some money in exchange for some books. And so I felt again, a little bad for the guy. And so I ended up buying the collection. I honestly didn't need it, didn't necessarily want it, but it was a relatively small amount of money. He was a fellow collector who was parting with his collection because he was in need. And so I went ahead and did it. And really, out of all the books, maybe 300 of them, there were really only a handful that I was really interested in. And one of them I haven't even rebagged and boarded. This one is Wolverine #1. And it is actually a pretty solid copy of Wolverine #1, and this is the full series. I actually have a copy of this already, but his was again in great shape, and so I went ahead and snagged that for myself. He also had a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 111 featuring Kraven the Hunter, and again, black cover. It's actually in really, really good shape. I mean, there's a little bit of some things going on with the top staple, but by and large, in really great shape. The rest of the collection, I'll end up selling off, with the exception of those two books, and also he had some Exterminators. I don't know if you guys remember the Exterminators, but for whatever reason, I had issue #4 of Exterminators in my collection since I was a kid, and he coincidentally had 1, 2, and 3, and I of course had 4. So I'll keep those. I think they're virtually worthless, so I'll be keeping them purely for sentimental reasons. And I'm actually looking forward to reading the Exterminators, because I haven't read it in quite some time. So we're gonna start reading that one from the beginning. So I leave the guy's house with books that I don't really want, but feeling like I essentially did a good deed, if you will. And so I get back home. It takes me an hour or so to get back home, and I get a text from a guy. And I had been going back and forth with this guy probably for well over a week about his collection. And another guy that wasn't an excellent communicator, he really wasn't able to answer all the questions that I would ask. But I remember him saying, if you come by and take a look, you won't be disappointed. And in my experience, normally when someone says that, they probably have some good justification for doing it. And so we're going back and forth. The guy says he's under the weather, but he's like, hey, just come on by. And mind you, at this time, it's about 8 o'clock at night, and I'm ready to go to the gym, and he's like, just come by, take a look. So he's like, give me 30 minutes before you get here, because I'm under the weather. I need to do some things really quickly, and then you're welcome to come by. So gives me the address. I drive by. It's only 10 minutes from my house, so it was really convenient. But I get there, and it's basically a 7-Eleven parking lot, and he's like, park your car and I'll come around and get you. And so I'm waiting for this guy to come, and he finally shows up with his girlfriend. He's about 6'2", 250, and I'm about 6 feet, about 220. So we were evenly matched, right? And he was checking out my stature, and I'm like, okay, this is a big dude. We're going to see how this goes. And so we walked back over to his apartment, which was right behind the 7-Eleven, and a little sketchy, have to say, a little sketchy meeting in a 7-Eleven parking lot, and also a little sketchy going to the apartment complex behind the 7-Eleven, where there's a guy sitting out essentially in the dark working on his car, I think changing his brakes or something like that. And we go into the guy's apartment, and on the table are essentially 6 long boxes of comics. And he's like, take a look. And so I'm looking, first I'm looking around, checking out the the atmosphere, and it was fascinating. Let's say that. So I sit down and start flipping through the books, and I'm like, you got that one. So I push it back down, flipping through the books, pull it. You got that one. Put that one back down, because I don't want to, lead on that I'm very interested in these books. And then I get through the first box, I get to the second long box. I'm halfway through, and I realize that they are the books are double bagged. So now I have to go back to the first box to start again, looking at both the front and the back. There were no boards, just double bagged books. So I'm going back through, and I find even more books the second time around. And so I work my way through the books, and I'm chatting with him and his girlfriend, and learn a little bit about him. He's asking me questions about my stature and me competing and things like that. And at one point I kind of asked him, so what is the pricing? And he says to me, well, it's name your own pricing. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with name your own pricing, right? So we have a little bit of back and forth about that. I'm still kind of going through the boxes, still trying to figure out in my mind, what I want to pull out to actually try to purchase, and again, not without really knowing the pricing. But I kept finding book after book after book that just kind of captured my attention. And so I'm getting towards the end of the 5th long box, and they're Ziploc bags. No more comic book bags. These are Ziploc freezer bags with 4 and 5 comic books in each one. And I'm going to show you in a second what I found in those Ziploc bags. But before I get to that, that's the grail, right? Before I get to that, I want to show you some of the other books that I found. You guys know, huge Spider-Man fan, so we're going to show you the Spider-Man books first. And first up, no, we're not going to go with that. We're going to go with this one. Amazing Spider-Man 238. With the tattoo. I'm actually selling my copy on eBay right now. It doesn't have the tattoo. This one, popped it open, had the tattoo in it. You can see I kind of rebagged and boarded everything. So these are new bags and boards, but this is ASM 238. Classic John Romita Jr. covers. So another book that I found in there, ASM 252. Solid copies. I popped all of these open out of the plastic, and they are solid shape. Very few bends, very few creases. Most of them, that is a perfect book. It really is. Super sharp corners. It may actually be nicer than the one that I already have. It really is a sharp book. Next book, found this one, and again, a couple of these I already have, but I don't think you can ever have too many of these. That one's first. ASM 298. And you guys know where this is headed, right? Another perfectly white book, great shape. I see a little bit of a impression here. Easy press to resolve that. Great shape. $2.99. Another great book. Perfect. of course, 300. This one appears slightly faded versus my actual copy, which is at CGC right now, but it may actually be in better shape than mine because mine actually had an impression where the A is, and this one does not seem to have any imperfections at all. It really is a nice book. And then of course, just for giggles, I picked up 301. So again, just great copies of these books. And again, from the condition of this guy's apartment, you would not think that you would have found these types of books there, but it just goes to show you that looks can be deceiving, that collectors come in all shapes, sizes, in situations, because he proved to be an incredibly nice guy. I enjoyed my conversation with both he and his girlfriend, and truth be told, I actually bought books that night and went back today and bought some additional books because I didn't have enough cash on me to buy everything. But I will tell you that I paid a lot less than what you think that I would have paid for these books, especially when you see what else is coming up. Just for giggles, Secret Wars #7. Again, all books were double bagged, so this is on the front. That was on the back. Secret Wars #8, and I have this already, I think as a CGC 9.2. This will probably beat that 9.2. I really do think that it could beat it. The only thing that's going on with this, there's a little bit of some things across the top, but otherwise, amazing shape. He threw in a couple of books, so I'll show you a couple of the ones that he threw in, one of which I've actually already sold. I'm waiting for the person to pay, but I've already sold one of them. I think it was X-Men. It's a low number X-Men, but it was in really bad shape. He threw in Peter Parker 76. I think this is the Death of the Black Cat. I think this book is, I don't know, relatively inexpensive. A few spine ticks here on the black cover, really hard, as you guys know. 77. No clue who that character is. Maybe you guys can tell me that. It's actually getting washed out, so I apologize for that. But that's Spectacular Spider-Man 77. And then one of the ones that I wanted, again, that I already have a copy of. I actually have copies of many of these, but that's neither here nor there. Spectacular Spider-Man #90. I believe this is the first appearance of the black costume in Spectacular Spider-Man. I think it ties some of the other books that I've already shown you for publication, I do believe. But this is 90, and it's actually for a black cover, again, in very good shape. So the guy threw in, what is this, Marvel Age 28. No clue, but it's here. And then he also threw in this one. It's not in very good shape, but it's a book that I've seen in magazines, off and on, and also on websites. It is Marvel Age 41 featuring Stan Lee. So it's a pretty cool cover. This book is, like I said, not in the best shape, but that's perfectly fine. So in the Ziploc bags that were, I think, some of them had 4, 5, 6 books in there. I'm going to show you the 2 that I grabbed today, and then I'll show you the one that I grabbed yesterday. That was the very first book that I pulled out. Picked up, as you guys know, Thanos is really popular right now. Thanos and Adam Warlock really captured my attention back in the day, and I've been rereading a lot of like the Infinity Wars related books. I just ordered a couple of Infinity War books to round out some holes in my collection, but also because I think they were autographed, so I'm looking forward to getting those in here. But in that theme, I picked up Captain Marvel 27, and I believe that this was the second appearance of Thanos, I believe. may have actually been the first, because I think where he appeared in Iron Man 55, he was a robot. I have to go back and read it. I can't tell if he was in there and then he disappeared and then the robot replaced him, or if it was the robot all along. So this one, I believe, is his second appearance, issue number 27. This is a black cover, a couple of spine ticks, but other than that, great shape. I also picked up number 28. And I'm planning to read both of these on Marvel Unlimited, because I've been doing a lot more of that reading from Marvel Unlimited. All right, so here we go. Have to go back to my cards. All right, make sure I do this the right way, because there's some things in limbo. So you guys remember these: Giant Size X-Men number 1, Incredible Hulk 181, both of which have been purchased. Grail books, Want List books, both have been purchased. And you guys remember the rest of the books, right? So one of these is still in limbo. One of them is right here. And it was in a bag with 5 other books. And when I thought to go look for it, I was looking through a bag that had somewhat sequential numbers, and it wasn't in there, but there was a higher number in that bag. And so I went to the next bag, which is where that higher number would have gone. So I'm going through there, and I'm seeing some lower numbers, some higher numbers, but I'm not seeing this exact book. I'm like, maybe it's not here, maybe it's gone. What's the chances of me actually finding this thing? So I go to the third bag with this title in it. Second book in. It was right there. And so I grab it and I set it down. And in my head, I said to myself, this book is going home with me tonight. And I set it there, and his girlfriend said, "Oh, so you found a book." She reaches over and grabs it. The book was raw, and I cringed inside because it wasn't my book yet, but I wanted it, and I didn't want her to damage it. And mind you, she was sitting over there. I think she was doing like her makeup. So I'm like, what do you have on your fingers? Why are you touching my book? But it was all fine. So she sets it down, and long story short, the guy comes back in because he was outside. We had our conversation about cost, and we came to terms. We landed on a deal, and I could not have been happier, because what I paid is actually less than what this book is worth. Like, what I pay for all of these books is less than what this book is worth in its current condition, and it is Iron Man 55. And it is an amazing copy of Iron Man 55. And I have wanted this book for quite some time. It is in really, really great shape. There's a couple of things over here to the left side above the staple. I don't even know if you'll be able to see it. A couple of indentations here right on the cover, not on the spine, that can probably be pressed out, but it is gorgeous. It really is a gorgeous book, and I am happy to have this in my collection. I cannot wait to send this thing off to CGC to have it encapsulated and protected and back in my little hands. Super happy about this book. So, as I told you guys, that one is now gone, and we still have, 5 more? Still have 5 more. And as I told you the other day, last video, one of these is currently in the mail to me and may actually arrive tomorrow. So we shall see what happens with that. I actually had a conversation with a guy earlier today about one of these other books, and he wanted a little bit too much for the book because it was actually signed. So I don't know. I probably will not pick that up, but at some point I will. So if you stuck with me, I hope that you liked where this finished, because I know that I do. But I want to thank you guys for watching. Happy Easter for those of you that celebrate. For those of you that don't, enjoy your weekend, and I will be in touch. Take care.